My name's Corinne. I'm Hannah Ashbrook.
Joseph Wollstonecraft.
My name's Jade.
I'm Dan Stoich.
A few years ago, when I was in college, I was diagnosed with anxiety. I was diagnosed with anorexia when I was 14.
Generalised anxiety disorder and social anxiety disorder when I was about 16.
I've had depression twice and an eating disorder.
And I was diagnosed with clinical depression about 3 years ago.
I just started getting really panicky and weird, and it wasn't like me. I'd get really upset over pretty much nothing. So I just started exercising and I did begin to lose weight, and it gradually got quite addictive, and I quite liked people saying, "Oh, you've lost weight."
It manifested itself mainly through nausea in the mornings.
Crying a lot, all the time.
Kind of isolate myself from people.
And I'd all of a sudden feel this sense of panic, and I just want to leave the situation. I cut down more to the point where I really wouldn't be eating anything.
Paranoia about acquaintances and friends and how they felt about me, and just worry about life in general. And
feeling like I couldn't do anything, that nothing was worth doing.
Just feel like worthless. A bit of a failure.
Like, I'd go hot and cold sweats, I would go dizzy, I'd feel sick. My heart would speed up. That was my main thing that worried me. It was my heart. I'd be checking my pulse all the time. That I was cold all the time, that my fingertips were blue, that my lips turned blue in class. I told my mum and she took me to the doctors because I thought I had like heart palpitations or something, because she did when she was my age. And so I had like an ECG done and like blood tests, and they just check out my heart and stuff, and everything was absolutely fine. And then they said, well, maybe it's anxiety, like with the symptoms you're describing. And at that point I realised it was something I'd created in my head, and it wasn't an actual problem. Although the symptoms were real and I felt really physically ill, it was in my head that was creating it. I was the one who made the problems. I confided in a teacher at my secondary school. She was like, okay, it's gotten to the point where I'm going to have to tell your mum. So she did, and I don't think my mum was all that surprised. After that, I went on a school trip to Italy, and I was quite unwell on the trip because I hadn't been eating, my weight had dropped, and I was fainting all the time because I wasn't eating. And then we got back to England after the 3 days, and the teacher told my mum, okay, this needs to be taken seriously now. More so than before, like my health had really gotten a lot worse.
it kind of developed over the years. I think I've always been on the nervous side of things, but these things do creep up on you. The problem with anxiety and depression and mental illness in general, it's hard to gauge if you're on the scale and where on the scale and all these different things. There's no one thing or the other.
I first realised that there was something wrong, and my parents said, you need to see somebody, we want to help you, you're not the little girl that we thought you were, you're not as happy as you used to be. And then for my parents to turn around and say, you need help, was a big, massive realisation. In 2010 it was taking the overdose and realising that I couldn't cope with like those kind of feelings, that made me realise that I needed some help.
But the realisation really came towards the end of GCSEs. I was going through a bad spell in a relationship, and I began to probably to self-harm, and the real kick was when I properly attempted to commit suicide. that's when me and my parents realised that I really wasn't well.
It does affect my life. I think it always will, because I've had it and I know certain situations will make it worse. I'll still get it, I'll be in a lecture and I'll build this feeling up inside of me where I just feel like I just have to run away and hide.
When I came to uni, I was quite scared because it was a transition from a place where I was comfortable, where I was growing to become comfortable within myself, and then to be thrown into an environment where I had to make new friends, I had to live with complete strangers, I had to deal with my food on a daily basis on my own, and I didn't have my mum to, you know, say, have you had dinner? I had to actually remember, okay, I've got to have dinner, I've got to keep going, and that was really difficult.
Just in the plain terms of just not wanting to go in. Nausea in the morning never really helps. No, that's the problem with not going to class. If you've got some anxiety issues, you get worried about the consequences building up and up and up, and you get to this stage of I've not been in for 3 months and everyone wants my blood in the university, and it makes things worse. It makes it harder to come in because I don't want to face the music.
It affected my first year at university. I felt like I just felt unmotivated to join any societies, any clubs, anything. I didn't go out a lot. I stayed in my room a lot in the flat. It was more comforting being by myself than it was being with like people and experiencing new things.
The best advice I could give is to go through the services that the university has, the counselling service, talk to your module tutor or your academic tutor, come and find someone, because you know you're in a new place and it's quite scary.
I'd never suggest that medication could be some kind of El Dorado of anxiety treatment. It's really not. I think discussion and relationships are the way forward.
Just helps us finding those things that make you feel happy, regardless of what it is, regardless if it's watching films, or reading a book, or going for walks, or going for a bike ride, going to the gym, whatever. No matter what it is, just find it. If it makes you feel happy, if it makes you feel good, you should just do it.
And as cliche as it sounds, you're not the only one, and things get better. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and just think of all your family and your friends that care about you, and you know you can pull through.
I think the important thing is to know that it's not the end of the world. Yeah, it's not the end of the world, basically.